I've gotten so much bad advice. I almost went bankrupt and I had to sell my car to make payroll. My dad sat me down and he said, listen, this isn't gonna work. You're gonna have to do something different. I literally spent every dollar I saved just keeping it afloat. I'm tied down. I've got a noose around my neck. Hey, I'm Dr. Tarun Agarwal. Most people know me as T-Bone. I make these videos because I love doing it. I've owned my practice for over 25 years and have built several businesses along the way. At this point, we're doing almost 8 figures in revenue, and I want to share with you exactly how we're doing it. I've helped over 10,000 dentists build better clinical skills and a better dental practice. So if you own a practice or building towards one, and you feel the pressure and are tired of putting in more than you're getting back, you're in the right place. Let's get to work. I was born in India. I moved here when I was 2 years old. I like to say I was brought here against my will, but at 2, you probably don't really have much of a choice. And my dad was a dentist in India. He was practicing there. We moved to America for a better life for our family. My dad intended to be a dentist, but that wasn't in the picture for him. So we did what all immigrants do. We started a business. For us, that was a motel. And I lived in our motel growing up. I watched my family work 24 hours a day. And it was that work ethic, that experience that has led me to build the businesses I have today. I learned that hard work, perseverance, dedication, diligence, those are the keys to building a great business. Always believing in yourself and always seeing that there's more out there for you. As I hit my teenage years, as I was in high school, it was time to start thinking about my career. What I knew was I didn't want to be in that business that I saw growing up, but I wanted to be in my own business. I wanted the flexibility and freedom of entrepreneurship. You know, I had the entrepreneurial itch. I've always had that. We had to find a way to help our motel grow, and we wanted to do billboards. So one of the things we did was we started creating our own billboards. And I had this idea like, hey, if we're gonna build a billboard for ourselves, why don't we rent out one of the billboards to other people? I was 16 years old. It's when I started my first business, a billboard company. That business is still in business to this day, 35 years later. And like all Indians, my parents wanted me to go to medical school, but that wasn't where my heart was. So instead, I followed in my dad's footsteps and I applied to dental school. I was accepted into a 6-year program straight out of high school where you did a combined undergrad program and dental school in 6 years in University of Missouri in Kansas City. When I got to college, I only had a certain amount of stipend. My parents only gave me so much money. I've always been taught when you need more money, you go to work. So for me, that was starting a t-shirt business. I started a t-shirt business. I sold t-shirts, sweatshirts, glasses, mugs, all these things to the various fraternities on campus. It ended up being a great business for me to build and provided me some money along the way. And being exposed to so many things I didn't get exposed to in my sheltered life, I kind of had a lot of fun. I almost failed out my first year at college. I had a 2.6 GPA that wasn't enough to keep me in the program. They put me on probation. It was then that I learned the power of friendships. It was my friends, it was the people around me that helped lift me up, kept me focused, kept us all together. That friendship, that power of support is kind of what I've tried to create in my professional life as well. I graduated in 1999. I was 23 years old. I left Kansas City. I knew I wanted to come back to North Carolina to be close to my parents. I also knew I wanted to own a practice, but I wasn't quite ready. I took 2 different jobs, a part-time job at a corporate practice and a part-time job at a private practice. This allowed me to see both sides of the story. What did dentistry look like in a corporate environment? What did dentistry look like in a private environment? That led me to get the experience I needed, or I thought I needed, to be able to start my own practice in the year 2000 at age 24. I was young and dumb. I just did it. I rented a spot, we built it out, we put it together. I had 0 patients. I did a startup. You know, marketing wasn't a thing back in 2000. And I heard the saying, hang up your shingle, people will come. It didn't work that way. I had to learn by trial by fire that there was more to starting a practice than just opening an office. The thing that sticks out to me the most about starting the practice was the first set of bad advice I got. And it wasn't bad advice, it was out of context. I would go to dental meetings. I was a CE junkie early in my career, and I would hear from people in their 40s and 50s and 60s who had 20 or 30 years of experience and 20 or 30 years of saving money and building reputation. And they talked so much about how dental insurance was so bad and that doing dentistry without insurance was the way to go. So when I started my scratch startup, I did it cash only, no insurance. I almost went bankrupt. I literally spent every dollar I saved just keeping it afloat. I remember it very well. My dad sat me down and he said, listen, this isn't going to work. You're going to have to do something different. And I was like, what do I do? He goes, it's easy. Take insurance. They will bring patients to you. They'll give you revenue. It'll make life easier. So I did. As a good son, I listened to my dad, and I haven't looked back since. Looking back 25 years later, that was such an important decision. During this phase, I was absorbing all kinds of information. At that time, it was Dental Town. That was the online forum where you learned, you communicated, and I noticed this community. And again, being an entrepreneur and seeing the value of the community, I said it would be great if we could all get together, have some meetings, have some fun together, learn together, get to know each other. And that led me to starting the Townie meeting with my good friend Samir Puri. Samir and I ran and built that meeting for 10 years until 2012 when we sold it back to Dental Town. Things are going great in the office. You know, I've got a good practice, it's doing well, it's producing money. I've got my education side of myself started with the Townie meeting. It's doing well. We're getting 1,000 people to come to Vegas every year. You know, things are really doing well. You know, I'm growing a family at the time. I bought a house. You know, we're outgrowing the house, so I bought a new house. You know, I did all the things that typically growing people do. And then I bought a brand new building to expand my practice. In life, you can't predict what's going to happen. 2008, 2009, the whole world went through the Great Recession. And I had just bought a brand new house, a multi-million-dollar house. I had bought a brand new building, a multi-million-dollar building. I had taken out loans. I had used all the cash for the down payments. And suddenly, our practice hit a big roadblock. Growth stalled. Practice actually went backwards. This put me in an amazingly uncomfortable position. When you get hit in the face like that, you have no choice but to go to work. That's all I knew how to do. That's what I saw my parents do. That's what I'd always done, and I just went to work. I put my ego to the side. I started doing dentistry that I probably didn't like to do or want to do. I learned new skills because I was sending that dentistry away, and I just put the hours and the effort and the time in, and I worked and worked and worked until things got better. It probably wasn't until 2011 that I felt that we were through that period and things were kind of getting back to normal. Starting to feel comfortable and confident again. I start speaking and training more often because I'm doing a lot of sharing of my work on Dental Town. I'm starting to share on social media at the time, and I'm just getting the request to share what we're doing. And I'm an open book. I share my stories and people want to know about it. And so I start speaking. I get to the point where I'm out speaking probably 25 times a year. At this point, I've got 3 kids. Something has to give. That led me to start 3D Dentists here in the office so that I didn't have to travel so much, but instead I could attract dentists to come here. So now I'm starting a new business called 3D Dentists to help really focus in on training other dentists, their team members, to advance their clinical skills and to build better businesses. 3D Dentist was about not having to be on the road so much, but what I found was it allowed me to really connect with the dentist. I was in complete control. I had all the time. I created the curriculum. I invited people to my home. I just got a chance to really know dentists, get to know their businesses, really make an impact, and that fueled my fire to keep doing it. I got Raleigh Dental Arts, my full-time practice. I've got 3D Dentists. What I'm feeling at this point in my career is I'm tied down. I've got a noose around my neck. I'm the only provider. I'm running 2 businesses. I've just got a lot going on. This led me to bringing on another dentist. I look back 25 years later, and I wish I did this sooner. I wish I had that attitude that I wasn't going to practice alone. For so long in my career, I always felt that I had to do it myself. But learning and bringing on other dentists to help me, to help them, really allowed me to really blossom, allowed me to expand my practice, allowed me to do more of the dentistry that I enjoyed doing, allowed me to really think and expand and grow. That was really the accelerant for my career as I look back. In about 2015, I've got 3 kids, I've got a growing family, I've got a pretty successful business. I'm probably like 35, 36 years old at this point. I look at my bank account and it's doing fine, but I look at my retirement account, my freedom account, and I put nothing away. About 2015 is when I started getting serious about creating a disciplined plan to start saving money for retirement. It really comes to the next really milestone in my career, and that was 2020. That's when the pandemic came. And most of us freaked out. I freaked out too, but we freaked out for different reasons. I didn't freak out because of money. At that point, the discipline of saving for 5 or 6 years, the discipline of not spending like I did in the mid-2000s, that discipline had allowed me to save money to weather the storm almost no matter what the pandemic was going to bring. Our office shut down for 3 or 4 months. We were all scared of what was going to happen to the world. But luckily for me, I wasn't scared financially, certainly scared about what the future holds. But really that gave me the opportunity to really dial in what I wanted to be, how much I wanted to work, where I felt I was best serving my practice. The pandemic allowed me to cut my number of clinical days and create more work days where I'm actually working on my business, not just in my business. What I found when I cut my clinical days down and actually started focusing on the actual business of the practice, now I was able to grow the practice by putting my energy there, that we needed to bring another dentist into the practice. Every time that I took a step away from the dental chair, but put that time into the business itself, I was actually able to grow everything. It didn't actually go backwards, it went forwards. So that brings us to today, where I've got my practice, I'm in the chair 2 days a week, we've got 2 additional dentists in the practice, I've got 3D dentists, we're doing about 30 events a year, where I'm getting to work with 100 offices on a one-on-one basis. I'm getting to train around 500 to 700 dentists each year. It's kind of the sweet spot for me right now. And what does the future hold? I have no idea, but here's what I know. I love doing dentistry. I love advancing myself. I love helping other dentists and seeing them succeed and seeing them accomplish even more than they thought was possible. And for me, that's where I want to spend the next part of my career, is really helping other dentists. If you've made it this far, thank you. Something has resonated with you. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because every week I'm going to give you my best. I'm going to give you what I'm learning in the office, because honestly, there's those who are doing it, there's those who've done it, and then there's those who are helping others to actually do it. And I'm all 3 of those. I've done it, I'm still doing it, and I've proven that we help others to get it done.